Hey designers, and happy Monday! You guys know what that means. Go grab your favorite cup of hot cocoa, a few of your favorite cookies, pull up a chair, and sit and chat with us a while in today's episode of Cocoa and Cookies. Well, happy Monday morning to you guys. I have another special guest this week. I finally roped her down to sitting down this morning and talking with me a little while. You excited about that? And hopefully some of you guys will be a little kinder to her this week than you are her dad. Oh my word, I cannot even believe it. Last week Dad was on here with me, you remember that? And he's not a big talker, huh? He's pretty quiet. Matter of fact, everywhere we go, people talk about how, I've even told him before, like, isn't there ever just something you want to say? Like, pull the words out. And he's like, nah, he has nothing to say. Obviously, you guys can tell that's not a problem for me. But some of you guys were quite rude to him. Some of the comments were unbelievable, weren't they? I could not even believe how some of y'all went off on him. Got a few of yourselves blocked, that's for sure, because just the amount of rudeness. Some of them were a little rude, but not real bad. So it's just like, whatever, you just take it as it comes. But I thought some of them commented about him being shy and not wanting to be on the camera. But the way they berated him, it's like, no dang wonder he would be shy. I mean, what kind of sense does that make? Somebody that may not really love to be in front of the camera agrees to do it, and he had a good time. He's just a quiet person. But then you get berated like that. No wonder you're a little camera shy. Did it scare you to come on here today?
Not really.
Because you're a little bit like Dad. So anyway, that's the way it goes. So hopefully you guys will be a little kinder to her. Of course, there were a lot of you guys who were very kind and very loving, and I appreciate that. He did too, but there were a few of you. Oh, it takes all kinds, I do suppose. Anyway, got to show our mugs. Go ahead and show them what you have today.
Merry Christmas.
Hold it over this way so I'll be able to zoom it in. Very cute. Where'd that come from?
Aiden bought it for me for Christmas.
Oh yeah, one little fellas in the children's church brought that to her. Alright, and here's my mug. Look how beautiful. See all that hand painted? My son made this. You can see his little picture right there. For Mother's Day, what year does that say? May 2007. 2007. Got his little picture on there and all his painting. Sadly, over the years, a lot of the paint has begun coming off, but it still lasted since, how many years is that?
9 years.
9 years. Yeah, that lasted a lot better than I thought that something like that would. So anyway, that's what I'm using today. And I got to be honest with you, mine's just full of water. You got water? We cheated today. No hot cocoa for us today, just water. So I've asked her to join me today for a very important topic that I wanted to discuss. And I wanted a younger person's perspective, point of view. You guys know my views all the time. But tomorrow's a big day. Big day. What's happening tomorrow?
We're electing a new president.
Oh boy. So we wanted to talk to you guys about that a little bit today. Not to tell you who to vote for. None of that kind of stuff. We're not going to push a certain candidate over another one because it's not about that. Just the importance of being involved. What do you think about getting to vote for the first time this year? Are you excited about that? Are you kind of not? Like, how do you as a 19-year-old young adult feel about the whole political thing?
I'm excited to get to vote for the first time, but at the same time, the candidates aren't exactly who I've always wanted to vote for. But on the other hand, it's important to choose a candidate in order to direct how you want America to go for the next really 10, 20, 30 years.
Yeah, so you don't have a real good choice this time.
Not really.
Her first time voting, and we've got the two but there is one of the two that's better.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, I know that some of you guys, I've heard, I mean, I don't know about you particularly, but I know some of the ones on my Facebook anyway, are voting third party, independent, aren't necessarily going to go with the two front runners. And everybody has to vote their own conscience. The thing here is to just get involved in the process. But I will throw this out there just for good measure. It's pretty clear that one of the two front runners will get it. I mean, that's the way it is. We seen this years ago. You weren't born yet. But when Ross Perot had come on the scene, we had a very big election that year. And Ross Perot came on the scene as an independent, stole just enough votes from the one who would have probably taken that, and caused a whole different dynamic of how things went. And a lot of times you guys need to understand that this political game, they put in third-party candidates for that reason. And a lot of times those third-party or independent candidates have been hired by one of the large parties to be a decoy or to steal the vote, so to speak, because they capture just enough of the popular vote to keep one of the two candidates from winning, and they're really working for one side. That's just the truth of politics. It's dirty, girls. It's dirty. But anyway, the way I feel about it is, unless I really knew through prayer and fasting that God was telling me to choose a third party or an independent, I would not waste my vote in that direction.
Well, especially this year, because the third party candidate is like half of what the Republicans believe and half of what the Democrats believe. It's not even like a straight set of independent beliefs. So my opinion when it comes to third party is to choose either the qualities of the Democrats or the qualities of the Republican that you are more for, and then vote for that person.
Yeah, and that brings up a good point, because it's not necessarily so much about the person. No. It's about the political stand of the party they're affiliated with. Mm-hmm. And I know that for a lot of you guys, you don't like anything the Democrats stand for or the Republicans, and trust me, there's corruption on both sides. That's just the way it is. We probably really need a whole political reform, and having a good, strong third party that could rise up out of that mess and get away from all the corruption would be optimal. We don't have that choice this year, you guys. It's one or the other. So you kind of have to look at the party platforms, because if you guys are like us, you've noticed that every candidate, no, not always. There are some that are pretty straightforward. There are some that don't care about being politically correct. And obviously you guys know I don't care about being politically correct. So I like those kind of people. Because being politically correct, a lot of times you're not even true to who you are. Mm-hmm. You're just trying to say what you need to say at any given moment. And that's why these candidates look like liars and look like they flip-flop on issues, mm-hmm. because they're trying to be so politically correct and non-offensive that they'll say one thing to one group of people, another thing to another group, and then it looks like they're just not even being consistent. And really, they're not. Mm-hmm. It's like their views and their morals, or whatever you want to call it, kind of flip-flop with whatever group they're standing in front of.
And it really does.
And I don't like that. Mm-mm. Just be yourself. Be straightforward, be yourself, no matter who's around. Something you do is always going to offend somebody. Mm-hmm. I mean, we've learned that just on YouTube. You can't please them all, folks. You can't. So, that's just the way I see it. But really and truly, one of those two is going to get it. Yep. A third party is not going to get it, you guys. So the way that I see it is I have to look at the two people, and I know that it's not always about the person themselves, but about what the platform as a whole is. And you have to look at that, because that's how they're going to make their policies.
That, and not only just the platform, but the people that they are choosing to appoint to their own offices, and the justices. Even if you don't necessarily like the person, you have to vote for the people that are going to be almost as much in control for the next couple of years. Yeah,
that's a good point. Very good point, because with the Supreme Court's on the line this time. Mm-hmm. I think there's like 4 seats.
3, I believe.
3, 3 seats that's open on the Supreme Court that's going to be being filled. So the direction of the law will, now the Supreme Court does not make the laws, although in recent years they've tried. They're not supposed to. Know your history. Because sadly what I see is a lot of times the American people as a whole don't even understand the roles that each of the entities have. And so when you have a Supreme Court who is bent on trying to make a law, that's not their job. That's why we have the legislature, folks. And when the legislature makes a law, it is the Supreme Court's job just to uphold that law. Right. But in recent years, our Supreme Court has really crossed the line to where they are trying to make law that they are not entitled to make. So those possible jobs are what I am strongly looking at. And which of the candidates, who they're going to begin filling these positions with. Because that's going to change the direction. Once you're appointed as a Supreme Court Justice, it's lifetime.
Yeah.
So it's not like, okay, well, only 4 years and then maybe we can change it back if it's not good. That's a lifetime appointment. And so that can change the direction of this country for many years to come. Presidents come and go. That Supreme Court is still going to be there. So those are some of the things that I have to look at, because I'm going to be honest with you. You know, I don't talk that politicalese. My first choice of candidate did not win the primary. And so it's not like either of the candidates that are out there tomorrow are going to be who I've been rooting for all along. Absolutely not. The person that I voted for in the primaries didn't win. So now we're stuck with 2 choices that I don't feel either are optimal at all. Wouldn't have been my first choice. But I do like one of them better than the other. Yeah. And that's who I'll vote for tomorrow. Because I just, I've heard so many people say, I'm just not even going to vote because I don't like either of them. How do you feel, as a young adult, 19, and now this is your first election getting to vote, knowing that your future is, some of us that are older, we've still got some good years, but you got a lot more years ahead of you. How does it make you as a young person feel when you hear all of the older people say, I'm just not even going to vote this year?
It really is frustrating because, our generation is called millennials, but at the same time, most of the millennials aren't doing their job to be informed. My generation is either going for one candidate or the other based on what they hear on social media. So the older generations who actually take the time to study should really be willing to be involved in order to shape our future.
That's true. So it's frustrating for you.
It is.
Yeah. And you've done your homework. I think you've listened to every debate.
Yeah, almost, yeah.
Yeah. And you've done your research on the 2 candidates. You've done your research on the 2 political platforms. So she's a very involved voter, and you're not voting just because Dad and I are voting a particular way.
And I think that's important for millennials, is to not vote based on your friends or what's popular or even your family. You have to take the time to research what you believe and what you stand for, whether it's Republican, Democrat, whatever, and you have to stand true to your beliefs and not go based on what's popular or trendy to do.
That's a good point. And so many people do. There are even a lot of older adults that are so guilty of that. When you ask them, well, why are you voting for this person? Well, they seem to da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, but they don't even know.
And I heard a great quote. I don't know who said it first, but I heard my history teacher say it one year. With rights come responsibility. And at the same time, it feels disrespectful to me, especially as a woman, for all of the women and men who fought just so that I could have the right to vote. Not even just as an American, but as a woman, because for so many years, women weren't granted that right. And it feels disrespectful to me to, first of all, not even do my research, but to not even vote whenever so many people even gave their lives just so I could have that right to vote as an American and as a woman.
That's a good point. That's a really good thought, because a lot of people fall hard for that, and it's kind of like a slap upside their face that you gave us this right, but I don't want it. Because there were a lot of people, like you said, they fought tooth and nail because they wanted to be able to vote. And now here we have the privilege to do it, and we don't have to fight for that privilege, and so many people aren't doing it. Like 300, how many did I tell you the other day? It was like 300,000, 300 million? 300 million, I believe. Now, I could be wrong on that. I know there was a 3 in there. So many people that didn't even vote the last time around, you guys. Just have the right, the opportunity, and the privilege and stayed home. I'm like, what? You have the opportunity to let your voice be heard. I can't imagine that, because y'all all know my voice is going to be heard. No matter what the situation is, my voice is going to be heard. I cannot imagine having the opportunity to be a part of who's going to lead me, and me not going and having a say in that. My candidate may not win at the end of the day, but at the end of the day, I can say, I tried.
Exactly.
I tried. And so for all those people that sit home and don't even get involved, you can't even at the end of the day say you tried, because no, you didn't. And that really just blows my mind. And then I've heard this year, one of the big controversies is, well, the people don't elect them anyway. The Electoral College does. So I'll just let the Electoral College do it. Study, people. Do you understand how the Electoral College works? That's what aggravates me, is because either people didn't pay attention in their civics class, or they've just long forgotten. Some of you younger people haven't even learned it in your civics classes. But the Electoral College is a certain number. It's kind of like your senators and your House of Representatives. Each state has so many. And then we vote on them. They go to Washington, and they go make and pass laws and do all their doings based on the will of the people in the state they represent. That is the Electoral College. Each state has so many electors based on their population. Some states have more, some states have less. It doesn't have to do with land mass. It has to do with population. So I think Florida, I forget how many we have here in Florida. Do you remember? I don't know. We have a large number. Florida is a very big and important state when it comes to the elections. But our electors will cast all of their votes for whatever candidate we, the people, vote for in the popular vote. So whichever of the candidates gets the most amount of popular votes, our electors then cast their votes for that popular vote choice. So yes, you still are electing your president. They may not take 5 million votes to Washington from a state. They may only take 13, but those 13 votes come from the 5 million that were cast. Right. So that's how it works, people. So all of you who have said, well, I'm not going to vote because the Electoral College does it anyway. Technically, the Electoral College does, because it is the electoral count that is turned in on election night. But that vote comes from the will of the people in a given state. Right. So, yeah, and then another one that I hear is, my vote doesn't count.
That's my favorite one.
I just want to look at you for a moment, eye to eye. For every person that said that, if they would have voted, think how those votes add up.
Well, I think in coming from my perspective is, I heard Tim Tebow give a great analogy. It wasn't about voting or anything, but not one person can just wake up one day and decide to end hunger in Africa. It starts with one person making one positive decision, whether it's donating some money to an organization or choosing to go there to be a missionary. It starts with one positive action, and if you would do the same thing with your vote, it's kind of like building blocks. You build and build and build and build and build until finally you get the result that you're hoping for. It doesn't happen overnight.
That's right. That's a great analogy. I hadn't heard him say that, but that is so true. Oh, okay. So true. Every voice matters. Everyone. And like I said, I know some people have voted before, their candidate didn't win, and then that's why they feel, well, my vote doesn't matter.
That's giving up.
Yeah, that's giving up. I'm a fighter, guys. I am a fighter, and I don't just give up easily for for causes that I truly believe in. And at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, my candidate may not win, but I'm going to have satisfaction whenever I go to bed that I did all I could do, that as a citizen I got involved, and whatever happens at that point happens at that point. You know, I'm going to continue to be a good citizen. I will support and pray for whoever goes into office, and I'll continue to be involved in every way I can. Because when we all come together and get involved, guys, we can make a change and a difference, and we can be the catalyst in our own communities for that. So I wanted to take this morning to talk to you guys. If you had already pre-decided that you were not going to go vote tomorrow, then hopefully maybe we've changed your mind on that. It doesn't matter if you're a Clinton supporter or if you are a Trump supporter today. This is not about that. This is just about taking your privilege. Man, it is a privilege. I am so glad and honored to live in a nation where I can be part of the process. Mm-hmm. You know, I don't have to just be a person, a citizen of a nation that has no choice in what happens around me. Guys, that is, I mean, just think about the privilege that is.
And by not voting, you're basically becoming people from other countries who don't have a choice.
That's right.
Because you're not willing to exercise yours.
That's exactly right. And one day, if those privileges were ever taken away, you're going to want them back. Mm-hmm. So you have the opportunity now to make sure that they stay intact. So get involved, guys. Get involved. Pray. Seek God. You know, I know some of you may not be Christians and prayer is not your thing, but it is our thing, and we definitely encourage it to pray and to ask God. The Bible tells us that when the righteous rule, the people rejoice. But when a wicked man rules, the people groan. And the only way that we can ensure that God's choice gets in there is to pray and ask Him. He'll tell you. He will tell you which direction to vote. Maybe He'll tell 10 billion people to all vote independent. You know, we're not telling you absolutely don't ever vote independent. But in most cases, one of the two front runners is going to win. And unless it's a miracle of God that a third party needs to win, and then He'll tell us all as we're seeking Him, and we'll all vote that way. So just seek Him, understand what you're voting for, understand the future of what you're voting for. Do some research on your candidates, because even in the debates, which you've partaken in all of those, been proud of you this year for getting involved that way. Even in those, they can lie, twist their words, say what they want the people to hear. So do your research on their past history of voting, the past history of what they've stood for, maybe if either of them have had changes of heart and have been consistently allegiant to those changes.
And I don't think that I would go to those particular candidates' own websites.
Exactly. Exactly.
Go to a website, you know, not even necessarily the liberal main media outlets, but go to a website you know you can trust and really search it out. Search out what they have voted for, what they believe in. Because
there are plenty of unbiased sites out there that don't have an interest either way. They're just informative, and they will give you the honest facts without bending their opinion one way or the other. So anyway, that's just, I wanted you guys to hear her heart as a first-time voter for president. That's exciting. Mm-hmm. I remember the first time I got to vote, I was so excited. I have not missed an election for local or state or federal positions. I do not miss the opportunity to vote. It is so important to me. And raising up a new generation, and her brother Bub is already sad that he can't vote. He's 17. He's less than a year away from being able to vote. So it's going to be 3 more years before he's old enough. But then, you know, he's going to have to wait 4 years for the next president. He wants to vote so bad, and I wish he could. But anyway, you guys, you have some young people out there who wish they had your privilege to vote. So don't waste it tomorrow. Get out there, get involved, do your part. Let your voice be heard, and at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, whoever is chosen, just make up your mind that you are going to be willing to submit to that leadership, to pray for that leadership, and to still be the best American citizen that you can be, and to stay active enough to see the changes that you want to see. So I'm excited about tomorrow. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. So with that, I think we're going to leave you. We're going to go ahead and close it. Thank you for joining me. I know it's not your favorite thing either. You're kind of like your dad. You're more of a behind the scenes. Yeah, but you did a great job. I'm proud of you. I really am. I'm proud of you. You make me proud as a mama, because I know that our future is in good hands with citizens like you coming up behind us. And y'all can do this thing. We got some good young people out there, you guys. We really do. So, all right, I'm going to go ahead and close it. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we will see you soon in another video.